Hello, Ipswich. This is Dr. Hart. Thank you for tuning in to Dialogue with Dr. Hart. Today we have an exciting program for everybody. We'll have a couple of different topics we're going to take a look at. Every year, for the last couple of years anyway, we've, as a district, focused on one of our successful habits of mind. Last year, it was communication. This year, it's about critical thinking. So I've asked some of our teachers and one of our administrators from the Doyon School to talk a little bit about what that experience has been like and try to give you a little bit of insight into how that plays out in the classroom. So I'd like to welcome everybody today and thank you so much. Everybody here has a very busy day and they have to do some extra planning to come and participate, and I truly appreciate that. So Sue, I'm going to ask people to introduce themselves to the community. Sue, could we start with you?
Yes, I'm Susan Speak, and I teach second grade at Doyon. I have been at Doyon for 22 years.
Hello everyone, I'm Sheila Conley. I'm principal at Doyon, and this is my 5th year.
Andrea Welch, teach first grade at Doyon, and I'm in my 12th year.
Great. Well, thanks. So, this year, we're looking at all of our successful habits of mind, but as a district, we're focusing on the critical thinking component of that. So I wonder if you could speak a little bit in a broad sense to how have the successful habits of mind impacted you and your planning as a teacher, and how things play out in your classroom?
I think, as we've talked about in elementary school, the things that we've identified as successful habits of mind, we do a lot of those day to day. It comes naturally to us in our teaching, but having a focus every year allows us to improve on those habits. Last year with communication, just looking at communication and focusing on two-way communication with parents and improving that. And then this year with critical thinking, being able to focus on that in our units. Great. It just gives us an area of focus.
Yeah, thanks.
I also think that part of the communication and having children, we know we've teach from preschool all the way to 5th, all the way to 12th, how to communicate better. And sometimes it's by speaking, sometimes it's in their writing and the projects they do. So that, how do you communicate your thoughts and what you're doing? But then when this year being critical thinking, we also say, we know it's a part of what we're doing. I think one of the highlights this year was back in the fall, I think it was October, when the entire district had a professional development day, and sometimes the community said, what do they do on those days? And I thought that day was really a wonderful day where we bring all of our educators together, and we all focused on critical thinking as a district. And one of the wonderful parts of that, we purchased a book that was Making Thinking Visible, and it was a great book for people to say, I know I do this, but what are some different ways to do it? And using that same language has made a difference. And we do a lot of as elementary schools, Winthrop and Doyon and our colleagues back and forth, we do a lot of work together, but being able to focus into some of the strategies and techniques within that book has helped people to have same language. And also as the administrator walking through the building, I hear a lot of the teachers and the students using some of those strategies, same language. And how I see that grow is as if we're doing it in first or second, we're doing it all grade levels now, next year as the children move on, it becomes common language, not only at Doyon, but as they travel through the middle school and high school. So that whole transition, it becomes part of our culture as a district, not just one classroom teacher or one grade level. I think the whole being systematic about it is great. So
that's great. So, could you help us with maybe some of the ways that you've used, and just to give the audience a little bit of an idea, that the Making Thinking Visible, we spent some time in that professional development workshop, and I know folks have been reading different parts of the book all year long. And so can you tell us a little bit about how that's been playing out in your classroom?
Sure. I agree with both of the things that you were sharing in terms of habits of mind have been around for a long time. They've been embedded in the national science frameworks. They've been embedded in the national teachers of mathematics. But having a book and having a common place in which we can be metacognitive about one of the habits of mind, I think is a really nice focal point for our planning and for our discussions as teams, both just at Doyen or Doyen and Winthrop. In making thinking visible, there's some fun ones for the primary grades. There's the See, Think, Wonder, and there's another one that we have been working on this week because we're getting ready to launch into our ponding unit, which is one of our critical thinking units that we've been in the process of writing, and the amphibians have started to migrate, so it's perfect time. So there's one in there that's kind of a new twist on an old idea, the KWL, what we know, what we want to learn, and then what we have learned is something that has been done in the past. But in the book, they have a think, puzzle, explore. And just the tweaking of the language it moves it from this rote kind of regurgitation of knowledge to a more inquiry focus and a more problem solving and just diving a little bit deeper. And it's great to be able to just think about that. The folks who wrote it from Project Zero, they really think hard about teaching for understanding. So I really appreciate that as, just who the authors are, and, how they have us kind of just think about, something that we know, it is, but it's just a slight tweak. And it's a great way, and the kids get excited about that, and instead of getting, what we want to learn and just have this long list, they're giving information so, we could observe, we could go out and do research, we can watch and release. And so that's a much more engaging way to learn. So that's one way that we've used. I don't know if there's other ways that you...
See, Think, Wonder is something that I've been using this year a lot, especially at the beginning of a unit. This week I used it to talk about maple sugaring because we are going to visit the sanctuary in Topsfield and learn about maple sugaring. So I showed them an image of how maple sugaring is done today with the tap on the tree and the bucket, and also showed them and just recorded what they saw, literally what they saw. And then the next picture showed the way the Native Americans did it. And it was a wooden spile and a log carved out, but they just recorded what they saw. Yeah. And then what did they think about it? And got their thoughts, and they were making connections between the two images, and then we got to the questions, and some of the questions that they came up with were a lot deeper than I've heard in previous years. The things they were wondering about, the questions they wanted answered, just kind of blew me away.
They're more engaged and interested in seeing, where they were on this continuum of knowing why people did what they did in
They
that
got
example.
so excited about researching their questions, and it really kicked off that unit in a very exciting way for them.
It does, and the depth of the thinking about it changes the whole experience too. And at such an early age for students to be able to, the empowerment, there's a lot of hidden messages in there, isn't there? That as a student, we respect that you could take a look at something and analyze it and come up with some really interesting hypotheses around what that was all about, right? Yeah. So I want to go back to you had mentioned metacognitive, and all of us know what that means, but it's a really important part about making thinking visible. Could you tell the audience a little bit about what we mean when we say that we're focusing on metacognition?
Well, I can't even say it now. Megacognition is thinking about thinking, and it's just being very reflective about your thinking. And there was another really great activity, the 3-2-1 in there, where at the end of the first trimester, I asked the students in the class to list out 3 things that they had learned. Then they were thinking about 2 things that they would want to research, and then 1 thing that they do well. So it's just it's a fun way for them to be thinking about their thinking. This book also lends itself a lot to some of the work that Maureen O'Connell, our math specialist, has been doing in all of our classrooms in the Everyday Math program, where an answer is no longer just okay. You can't say it's 10. It's 10 because, and you have to be able to reason and think a lot about all the different possibilities of the ways that you come up. And again, it's going deeper in terms of a student's understanding. And it's a constructivist way to, it's a way that students are informing their own knowledge and their discovery. And through that, we know from the research that that's when it really starts to take hold.
Well, exactly, because, really, there's a lot we want students to know and be able to do as they go through school. But our ultimate goal is that they're lifelong learners.
Right.
And to make that shift to being metacognitive and to be reflective on your learning and to feel empowered as a learner. And the expectation that you will be a proactive learner, I think changes the whole dynamic. So unfortunately, that short period went by very quickly. So I think we're going to wrap up here, but I want to thank my guests because they're really, on the cutting edge, taking already fabulous instruction that they've been involved in for a number of years, and tweaking that to support kids thinking more deeply and becoming lifelong learners. So thank you all for coming out of your very busy schedules.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Ipswich. This next segment of the TV program today is going to focus on our STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math focus here in the district. As you might know or remember that for the last couple of years, last year we spent a fair amount of time. We hired an organization, the International Center for Leadership and Education, came and did a very comprehensive analysis, what they call a needs analysis of our K through 12 program here to look at where powerful learning was and where STEAM was integrated into our instruction. At the end of that, they came with a series of recommendations. So we have a district-wide team that includes teachers, administrators, we have business leaders, we have a really nice connection with the local biolabs organization to take those recommendations and breathe some life into them. So this year, we've taken the multiple recommendations and we've identified 4 of those recommendations to focus on. So I've asked as a guest today, Tracy Wagner, who is our new Director of Teaching and Learning, has been with us a full 7 or 8 months.
6.
6 months. She's done so much work. She's done the work of 8 months.
Yes,
right,
it
exactly.
Is that
but
much work.
so for the last 6 months, and she's really leading up this project. So Tracy, can you tell us a little bit about where we are as a team and what we're focusing on right now?
Mm-hmm. So we have put together a fantastic team this year that includes teachers from all the schools, community members, including scientists, and district folks, and 2 high school seniors. So we've had so far 4 meetings, including one all-day retreat, which really shouldn't be called a retreat because it's a intense working session
right.
in a room together.
Nothing retreat about it at
nothing
all.
spa-like about it. And we were sponsored on that day by Biolabs, which was a beautiful environment to be in.
It truly is, yeah.
So the team is engaged in the work of taking the recommendations from the firm that came in and did the needs assessment for the district, and like you said, choosing salient pieces to act on this year, and then also setting goals for the following 2 to 3 years.
Right. So I see that you've brought our draft of our STEAM vision statement. Now, a lot of organizations have vision statements, but it's critically important, right? To have a vision statement supposed to capture what your overall objective is, and if you want it to be impactful, hopefully your vision statement, makes this whole objective, whole initiative come alive for people. Would you mind sharing the
I do not mind sharing it. This is the labor of last year's STEAM team and recommendations and suggestions of the firm that came in, and then tuned by this year's STEAM team. So, STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math education engages students with a sense of wonder about our ever-changing world through questioning, collaboration, and innovative problem solving.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful.
Is it? But it does. It captures really the essence of effective education and effective thinking. That whole piece on ever-changing world is so important, because with technology, we've flattened, as they say, the book says, we've flattened the world, and that means that it's become far more competitive and collaborative in the nature, both internally and externally, and so to have our students prepared to not just survive in that type of environment, but flourish in that type of environment.
And to make a
right?
difference in that type of environment.
And to make a difference.
It really
exactly.
empowers students, and I like this vision statement for many reasons, but I like because it engages, it has a sense of wonder, and students are active. They're questioning, they're collaborating, and they're problem solving. Yeah. So STEAM is all about looking at issues in the world and really looking at problems.
Right.
And giving students the tools to empower them to make change, which is such important work.
Yeah, it truly is. So we have 3/4 goals that we're trying to achieve this year. We won't have time in this short segment to go through all of those goals, but would there be one that you might want to talk a little bit about and tell Ipswich where we are in this process? The vision statement actually was one of them, and so we've done a fabulous job, I think, of putting that together. It's important to get that out to the community so people understand what we're trying to do. But maybe one of the other goals to just share and where we are in this working progress.
One of our goals is around building and supporting teachers in professional development around STEAM.
Yeah.
So say I'm a 9th grade social studies teacher, I'm intrigued by STEAM, I don't know where to begin to build it into my curriculum. So thinking about the resources and tools all the way from a scientist who might visit your classroom
Yes.
to curricular resources, to the engineering teacher in your school, to collaboration. All the tools available to you as a teacher that you can go to start to build STEAM elements into your classroom.
Right. Yeah, I think you were making reference to, in part of that, the science with scientists. Did I get that right?
Scientists.
From scientists. I knew I wasn't going to get that right. But that's kind of an exciting piece that will be implemented before the end of the year this year. Could you tell the audience a little bit about what that program's about?
Science from Scientists is a program where, like it sounds, a teacher would give space in their classroom to a real, breathing, live scientist to come and lead essentially curriculum with the students' labs. And through that, the teacher sees in a hands-on way what engaging with science in this STEAM work can look like. And the students benefit from the college and career readiness of actually meeting and engaging with a scientist.
Yeah.
So I would love to see that model bridge towards artists in the classroom, mathematicians in the classroom, beyond the teachers who students are with, but it's a model of that common core piece of college and career readiness,
Right.
anticipating and really seeing what it might be like to have this career, and even more so to have the mindset of someone in that career someday.
Well, no, I think you're right. There's a variety of different benefits. The students see and hear and can ask questions from somebody that's living it. That's what they do for a living. That's where their passion is. So that's critically important. I think for teachers to see how, in this case, scientists look at their work and look at the body of knowledge that they have. The other piece, too, that I am anticipating will come out of this is that read once that it was critically important for students to see excellence at work. So they could recognize excellence and see the amount of work and dedication and passion it takes to truly be excellent in something, to be an expert in something. So, I think that's another dimension that's very helpful. So, at this point, we're kind of action planning stages. There'll be a few things. The science from scientists will be a real tangible step this year to be able to help people with our STEAM vision statement is something else that we're excited about. And as we progress through the year, we're going to give people an opportunity, teachers an opportunity to start thinking about next year. And units that they could be working on or collaborating with colleagues. So I would say to the community, keep your eye on this. This is some exciting stuff. It's the intersection of really rigorous content with our successful habits of mind. It's a great medium for students to build that integrated habit and skill set and knowledge base in an exciting and engaging way.
I'll note that I'm working on adding to the district website under the STEAM tab more current materials around our work with STEAM this year, our logo, our mission statement, opportunities for the community to learn more about STEAM work.
Right. Our logo.
Our logo is fantastic.
I feel like,
how do we not have the
how
logo?
did we forget to bring the
I
logo?
know, we have buttons.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not on today,
It's
but
the logo is
it's
really
beautiful.
something special.
So we have that, and also next month my blog will be focused on STEAM work, and you can get to my blog through the district website. It's on the main page.
Fantastic. Well, Tracy, thanks so much. Thanks for all your work. It's been very thoughtful and deliberate and impactful. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome back, Ipswich. Just wanted to take this final segment. There's a lot of big projects going on in the Ipswich Public Schools over the next several months. And I want to take a few minutes just to tell people a little bit about each of them. So one of the things that we are about to launch is the installation of a new synthetic field at the Jack Welch Stadium. If you've been following this at all, the town was very gracious in supporting us getting a bond for $1 million to renovate or install this synthetic field. Why is that important? Well, for a number of different reasons. One is that Ipswich has struggled for years to have enough playing fields for students to have access to, whether it be high school athletes or youth program athletes. And so the resurfacing of the Jack Welch Stadium field helps because a turf field you have almost ongoing access to. Some people describe it as having at least 2.5 to 3 fields instead of 1. How does that work? Well, because one, the surface is never degraded. It's like a regular natural field where you can turn to mud after a football season and you really don't have access to it. And you can't get additional access to it because you're afraid of that degrading. When you have a turf field, it's always accessible to you. And when we have our lights, you can even extend past the daylight hours for students to have that level of access. So it's an important piece for us. We just went through a bid opening process. We expect by the beginning of next week that we will have chosen a contractor to do that work. We're within budget, which is great. As I said, that we have a bond for $1 million. We have the Institution for Saving has been enormously generous with $600,000 donation towards this project. So we'll be up and underway by the end of May. And we expect all of our fall sports to have access to that turf field. So look for that. Look for the construction and look for our grand opening in the fall. So that's an exciting athletic facility development. Second piece is, if you've been following, we have a significant building project underway. It's looking at our elementary schools. And so over the next few weeks, will be very important for citizens to get engaged and stay engaged in this process. There's a lot of decisions that the school building committee, which is a town-wide committee, and the school committee will need your feedback on. So this is a great opportunity. Not many towns in the state get this level of support from the state. So the state will be picking up a significant portion of the cost of either the renovation or building of a new building. We do have some options that we're talking about right now. Grade configuration. Are we going to stick with the pre-K through 5, or are we going to split up those grades in some way? Are we going to go for just rebuilding the Winthrop School, or are we going to be looking at a larger building that may house 2 schools with some common spaces? So I would say this is, a significant decision, really a 50-year decision, and I encourage everybody to get involved in this. It's and get involved. There's no losing with any of these decisions. We're going to end up in a better place, and come participate and make sure your voice is heard. There will be, open to the community, on the 3rd, the school committee is having a joint meeting with the school building committee right here in Town Hall in Room A. It will, like I said, it will be the 3rd of next month, and it will start at 7 o'clock. There'll also be a full public forum on the 10th of next month. Again, that will be in Town Hall in Room A. This one will start at 6:30. So put those, pencil those into your calendar. Please come, share your thoughts, listen to all of the exciting potential that this project has. Finally, I want to talk to you a little bit about FEFI funds. I've been telling the community for the last almost 3 years that FEFI funds have been a game changer for the Ipswich Public Schools, and I believe that now more than ever. We've been able to do curriculum work, professional development work. We've been able to send students to international conferences. We've been able to completely upgrade our technology, both infrastructure and technology tools. So the FEFI funds, we have mini grants that every teacher in the district, I don't know of one district in the state that has a similar type of situation where teachers can write what we call mini grants for innovative practice in their classroom up to $5,000. And we have dozens of teachers that have taken advantage of that, and students the recipients of the innovative type of practice that they're bringing to the classroom. We're going to have a celebration event, and it's going to be Thursday, April 14th. It will be in the Performing Arts Center at the middle high school, and it will begin at 5 o'clock and extend to 7 o'clock. It will be people that have benefited, written and benefited, and students have benefited from their innovation grants. So it's a real tangible way for the community to see where FEFI funds are going and how impactful they're being on the education for Ipswich students. If you walk around the Ipswich Public Schools, in many ways, it's a very different place than it was 3 years ago. The support of override funds and the support of FEFI funds and the just outstanding staff and wonderful student body and the integration of technology is transforming education in Ipswich. So please remain engaged. There's a lot of exciting things to share with you. And remember that April 14th date. Thank you very much. I appreciate you tuning in. Enjoy the rest of the week.